Bang the gravel.
Okay. Call the session to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brominski. Mr. Haas. Ms. Howe. Here. Mr. Kelleher. Mr. Perry.
Here.
Mrs. Sedman.
Here.
Mr. Schnee. Mr. Urban. Mr. Vogt.
Here.
Ms. Wakes.
Present.
Mr. McGinley.
Present. Additions or deletions to the agenda? There's one deletion. The Public Defender's Office has requested that we remove the number 3, discussion regarding ordinance authorizing amendment to the 2018 budget. They don't feel they have the information currently, and they'll be getting that together, and they would like to postpone this until they have all the information. So number 3 will be removed. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Ms. Wakes, second.
Yes.
Ms. Stegman, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, any abstentions, none heard? Moving down to number 1. The Microsoft Software Acquisition Licensing Contract. Mr. DeMauro?
Okay, this contract represents, actually before we start, there is a correction on page 2 of the submittal that the clerk will hand out right now. Sorry for any confusion that may have caused.
Yep.
And the only difference once you get that is going to be the first paragraph underneath the recommended method of procurement on page 2.
Okay, go ahead.
So this contract represents a very large and significant portion of the computing system that we use in Luzerne County to run the county day by day. It represents all of our servers, the operating systems on all of our servers. It represents the operating system on all of our workstations. It represents all of the office productivity software on all of our workstations as well. It's a contract that allows us, as we have in the last 3 years, is actually a renewal of the original 3-year contract. So this contract allows us to maintain all of our software and operating systems current with the current versions, so that we are not obsolete with any of our software, so that we have timely security and other software patches to keep the software protected against malware, viruses, etc. It also includes a software assurance component that allows us to contact Microsoft and have Microsoft support directly support us with any issues that we have with any of the systems. We've used this support on a number of occasions over the last 3 years, and what Microsoft does is once we contact them, they will dedicate a representative, a tech, who is an expert in the exact system that we have a problem with, and work with us directly until the problem is resolved. And that process has worked very well for us over the last 3 years. The total cost of the contract is $1,327,954 over 3 years. That's a total cost to the county of $442,651 per year. Of that, and I have the figure over here. Of that, every year, $259,814 is general fund expenditures. The other $182,837 is reimbursed to the general fund from the Human Service Agencies, 911, and the departments that receive state funds outside the general fund for their operations.
Anything else?
That's the basics. Like I said, there's a renewal of the existing contract. The one thing that we are adding to that, and Sharon, have you passed out the second handout as well? One of the things that we're adding to the contract is this on your brochure, the advanced threat protection, which gives us even more security for our email systems, and allows Microsoft to identify malicious emails to a greater extent than we can right now. And it's not just a simple virus scanner that looks and says, oh, there's a virus in this attachment, but it looks at specific emails, or looks at emails and looks at, for example, a reputation. It opens attachments in a sandbox and determines what happens or what is inside the attachment, and will proactively identify threats that aren't even listed anywhere, that are completely new. One of the issues that we've always had, and that's common throughout computer systems, is what we call a zero-day virus. And that's a new virus that's not recorded in any of the antivirus signature files, or that can't be identified using what we call heuristics, where maybe this virus is brand new, but it looks a lot like these other viruses we've seen before. So heuristics will find those. This product helps to identify completely new threats that aren't necessarily a virus or aren't necessarily identified any other way. It's a product that I believe Microsoft has had available for about 3 years. And every year they've improved it, and it's at a point where we really don't think that we can afford not to have that extra protection. You may have all received an email from me last week about an outside party's email being used to send a virus to county employees. And we were very successful in being able to contain that. But software like this would give us a much better chance to recognize it automatically before it even comes into the county. And with what we've been seeing in cybersecurity and cyber threats, is that they're constantly increasing exponentially. There are now not just random attacks coming in through viruses that are just spreading themselves wherever they can. We're starting to see more and more targeted attacks that are aimed towards Luzerne County and other counties and other government agencies. Whether or not it's related to the election next week, we have no idea, but more and more, and this is going to continue with the trend, cybersecurity is going to be a very important part of our overall operation, and something that we're going to need to invest in significantly or appropriately to make sure that we are protected from outside malicious acts, who are whether they're going after any county or any government entity whatsoever, or going after anything at all to see if they can access sensitive information like bank account numbers, credit card numbers, personnel information for identity theft. Whatever they're using, we're a prime target because we do have a lot of confidential information that we store, whether it's personnel information or what have you. We are a target, just like every other county is, just like the state is, like the federal government is. So it's very important that we do what we can to fight cybercrime. So yeah, that's what this handout is about, to show you the advantage of that. We also have about 150 more users today than we did 3 years ago when we first entered into this contract.
Just a gentleman that's...
Absolutely. Sorry. This is a Microsoft representative. His name is Jeff Hicks. He's here to help me answer any questions that you might have. And so certainly feel free to...
Mr. Hicks, what's your role with your Microsoft?
So I'm an account executive. I'm kind of a field resource. I overlay mainly central and eastern Pennsylvania. There's multiple people that I work with on your kind of extended Microsoft team. And I'm here to, A, thank you for your business, as you guys are, a current customer today, and B, see how we can best support you, obviously, moving forward. And to his point, around advanced threat protection, it's probably one of the most most popular services that we've been delivering, and it's because modern day threats are obviously becoming, more and more sophisticated, and it's, something that most organizations are obviously taking a hard look at.
Mr. DeMauro, the very first thing I have is the payment is like $440,000, and about $180,000 is allocated to other departments. How did you come up with that formula, or how was that derived?
We prorated by user the costs of different components of this contract. So for example, there's a component that includes Microsoft Office as a license. There's a component that involves Microsoft SQL Server, which is our database servers. There's a component that represents Microsoft Windows Data Center, which we run all of our virtual computers on. So we've allocated pro rata per person in all the different agencies that have non-general fund sources based on the number of users. And we throw that in the spreadsheet, and these are the numbers that we came out with.
Any other questions? Stop.
Yeah, I did notice in the contract that it's
Yeah, I have a question.
150.
Mr. Irwin,
We have
you're next.
150 additional employees.
All right, thank
Have we added 150 new employees in the last 3 years?
In new positions?
Well, yeah, why do we have 150 more people?
It's not necessarily new positions. And I'll remind you that 3 years ago, which is not that easy to remember for me, certainly, but 3 years ago when we looked at the contract, Microsoft is only requiring us to have active licenses for people using the software. 3 years ago, we had a lot of vacant positions, and we did not pay for them to have licenses until those positions were filled. And at that point, part of the onboarding process was an expense for adding that extra license. So over the last 3 years, we have gradually had to increase the number of licenses using current year funds to purchase the additional licenses, and at this point we're right at about 150 more active users than we were 3 years ago today.
Okay, and then do I understand this correctly that even with the 150 additional employees, it's $3,700 less than the previous contract was?
You do.
Excellent.
And it is excellent, and one of the reasons for that, and that was an excellent observation, and if I can find the tab for my cost, I'll share that. The actual cost per user of the Office suite actually went up, and we have more users. So that component is more than it was 3 years ago. However, there is two other components. One, the Windows Data Center, where we run all of our 100 plus virtual servers, and our SQL servers that's included in the first contract, a purchase component. So the annual price for the first 3 years, or the first 3 year price for those components, was over double what it is today. Because now we purchase and own the software, we're only paying the additional support, the software assurance on that going forward. So that decrease outweighed the increase of adding the advanced threat protection and adding another 150 users.
Great. Okay, and one last question. Well, actually, it's just, I guess, a comment. I think we talked about this thin client system probably 3 or 4 years ago.
We did.
We're not using that yet?
Oh, yes, we are.
Okay.
All of the thin clients, which don't have hardware, they don't have workstation
Great.
hardware. They run on a server, and they have, the small box, you've seen those. And so that hardware we have. Each one of those thin clients requires a Microsoft operating system license. It costs less than having a full-blown Windows 7 or Windows 10 license, but it still requires a license, and those licenses are included here. And the same thing with Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, those. Every user must have a license. So if we have 80 users on one thin client host, we need 80 licenses on the thin client host to cover all of those users.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank
Other
you.
questions?
Yeah, two questions, actually.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Ross.
Yeah, Mario, I know it's a funny question.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Oh,
Urban.
he was first, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Urban. I'm sorry, Mr.
Yeah, I'd just like to see the breakdown of the reimbursement breakdown by department. Mr. Morrow can give us that for the voting session in 2 weeks.
It's here.
Who we start? It's here? Okay.
It's here for the departments that are
Okay.
providing reimbursement. That's
Okay.
about $180,000. So do you want more than that?
I heard the amount. I just wanted to see a breakdown by department.
Yeah, they have the
What types
breakdown.
of software? What types of software they're using? I found out there that not everybody needs Excel, not everybody needs spreadsheet. Some departments simply need access to the internet. Other people might need Microsoft Word. Not everybody needs all types of software, and I've noticed in other places that I've worked, everybody had a whole suite of software, and 60-70% of the people didn't need that suite of software. They only needed a specific type of software to get their job done. So I guess that's another thing I'd like to see. What types of software do each of these individuals in these departments have and need?
I can take that. The licensing is not per individual software package. For example, Microsoft Office is one package that includes all of the different components: Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Skype, the Outlook, which is used for email. Everyone in the county that has a computer needs county email, so Outlook is required. I would say there's not even a handful of users who can say we don't need Microsoft Word. Just those two packages alone, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but those two packages alone, if we bought a la carte, would cost just about as much as the full suite. So there's really no cost savings in trying to, one, pick and choose which user or department gets which package. And the nightmare of trying to manage that for no real savings is kind of makes it something we wouldn't even want to consider.
Okay, Mr. Haas?
Yeah, good thing. Actually, Steve asked one of the questions Good, Steve.
Mr. McGinn, I just want to comment one more. I guess I disagree with Mr. Morrow on that topic.
Okay.
There is a cost difference between just using Microsoft Word or just using email, and you don't need a full suite of software for every employee in the county, especially since a lot of the employees aren't trained on it, don't know how to use it, and don't need it. Again, it's down. What do they actually need to do their job? And that's what they should have available to them. Nothing more, nothing less. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Haas?
Yeah, that was actually my question too, what Steve just asked, but that's only one of them. I'm seeing here, so we're already covered for this year. We've already been budgeted for this year, calendar year, but we're saving $3,700 on this year. I read that correctly, right?
Actually,
so
the contract would start July 1. Mr.
Okay.
Haas.
Right, so the contract starts July 1st. The July 1st payment is already budgeted in 2018.
Right, because of the existing contract we've had.
Right, well,
No.
the third payment of the existing contract was in July 1st of 2017.
Okay.
So when we did this year's annual budget, we estimated what the contract value would be starting in year one, starting July 1st of 2018.
Right. So we're covered with this, doesn't require any budget transfers, right? We're covered for this first year.
Right. Year one is covered.
And because I'm wondering about, I mean, you talked about we have some savings here of $3,700 even though we have more service. Is that due to the fact for the 15% discount? I'm looking here on the discussion points. It's the attachment here, everybody?
No.
It's not?
It's not due to the 15% discount. That was from day one.
We've always enjoyed that.
We've always
for 3
enjoyed
years.
that.
Okay.
Right. The difference, and this was part of my response to Mrs. Hauk's question, was that some of the expenses in the original contract included, and towards the end, you've got a quote sheet.
Yeah, I did see that. Of course, I lost it here.
It should be towards the end.
Yeah.
So if
Page 20 of 77, everybody.
Right. So the ones with the biggest changes are the second line item, You'll see there's a quantity of 12
Yes.
at $1,346 each. Let's see, 417. That price was $3,141 in the original contract.
Okay.
But because the purchase component has been satisfied, we're only paying the software assurance component now. The other one that may have been a significant difference is there's a quantity of 8 at $22.75. That used to be $53.10. And those are per year pricing, the way it's broken out on this sheet.
So that's where the savings come.
So that's where the bulk of the savings come in. There were some other items that went up and down, but those two line items themselves are the bulk of the difference.
Okay. So, okay. I mean, prices go up, so we're essentially Microsoft is just continuing the contract, basically, right, Jeff? I mean, it's not like we're actually having anything new. We just have the
Right.
cybersecurity and.
Yeah, the only thing we've added was the advanced threat protection.
Okay.
Otherwise, and we've adjusted some of the numbers based on current staff versus what it was 3 years ago to account for the changes we've had over the last 3 years. But we're not, this isn't a new contract, it's mostly a renewal.
They're mostly renewal. Here, I'll just say, council members, you know, the CCAP talks about this an awful lot, cybersecurity. They're hitting everybody, local governments, not just counties as well, so appreciate being proactive.
Thank you.
Tomorrow.
Anyone else for Mr. Tomorrow? This is this contract with Microsoft, correct?
That is correct.
Is there any third parties involved?
Yes, CDW is the, I don't know the best term, dealer, reseller of record for Luzerne County for this contract. So it's ultimately a sole source because of their CDW's contract with CCAP as the dealer for Microsoft services. Microsoft won't sell directly to us. And on a government level. But because we work with CCAP, we have 1,152 users on here. We're enjoying the discount level D, which is the deepest discount Microsoft offers to government entities. If we were just 1,100 users coming to Microsoft, they would not give us this level of discount. Because CCAP pools the resources of all the counties that purchase the Microsoft contracts through their vehicle, it allows us to get the best discount that Microsoft offers. So they negotiated that on our behalf.
I think you said earlier that any questions or support information that you need, Microsoft is direct on that?
Yes. Yes, that's what we get with the software assurance.
Anybody else with
Is
questions?
there any additional cost for the advanced threat protection? Was
Yes,
that an add-on?
That's broken out on the back here. So the advanced threat protection component is roughly $26,000 a year for all the employees, for everyone. But like I said, it's an investment that we really cannot afford not to make.
Anyone else? Questions? Okay, if not, this will be on our agenda for the last meeting in May.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Mr. Manager?
I'm going to turn over item number 2 to our Director of Operations, Ed O'Neill, who negotiated this contract, found a need in the county, and continue to work on something.
Good evening, members of council. What I have brought before you is a contract that I met with UGI Marketing on, and it's basically an agreement that will allow us to enter into a fixed unit pricing for gas utilization for a 3-year period. Probably something we should have been involved with. It was my understanding that this was one of the items when we went into the agreement with Constellation Energy for electric. The gas end of it was to follow at some time shortly thereafter, and I think it just fell off the radar with some change in staff and things that had occurred. So as a result, we were on a month-to-month basis, and as a customer without a fixed contract, what that exposes us to is a variable rate every month. That variable rate is contingent upon market supply and demand, and also the time of the year when gas is most highly in demand by the end user. So, for example, during summer months, at a time when the market may be low, the variable rate could drop significantly versus, say, a month like December or January during a period of low market supply. What had happened was, back in January of this year, there was exactly that. There was an extremely high demand due to the cold temperatures, and the variable rate that we had been getting more than quadrupled for the month. So that, in conjunction with the utilization that we had for that month, our electric bill came in at about slightly over half of our annual budget.
Electric bill or gas?
This is gas. So following that bill, I contacted UGI, and after some phone calls and finding out the right contact information with Mr. Pedri's assistance, I met with James Reno, and we sat down and discussed this fixed price contract, which you have before you. Now, just to update the members of council, there are two parts of this agreement. There's a master agreement that is basically a standard format that's sent out to all the clients who engage in this relationship with UGI. Then there's a confirmation agreement, which is specific to the county, and that is drawn up based upon our utilization. It will not include all of our accounts. It will include all of our large accounts. It has to meet a certain criteria in order to qualify for this fixed pricing. I believe the confirmation agreement that you see before you had a $3.053 per decatherm rate quoted. As of this morning, I was forwarded a revised and updated confirmation agreement from Mr. Reno, and the price has dropped since then, and today it was quoted at $3. That is subject to variation from day to day. Typically, I think it doesn't change that drastically over the course of 2 weeks, but I want to advise council that I believe that our intention at this point is that we will get a fixed rate on the day of the next meeting, if council is willing to put this on the agenda for a vote at our next session, our next voting session. I will have to have a copy forwarded to council members that morning, because it's that current that we'll have to do that. So I just want to make that known. There was a 3.053 rate that is in your packet this morning. It was sent and adjusted down to 3, and that is subject to slight variation between now and 2 weeks from now.
Questions for Mr. O'Neill?
I would like to add one other item. I mentioned earlier that one of the things that prompted this negotiation was an extremely high bill that we received in January. UGI was kind enough to discuss negotiating that bill and trying to work that down for us if we were to go forward with this contract. So I'm working on that with Mr. Reno as well.
Thank you. Mr. Perry?
Going forward, this fixed rates give us a substantial savings. I mean, it has to, considering the variable rate we just went through.
It will give us a savings. But more so, it kind of takes the risk. It lowers the risk. I mean, there could potentially be months in the summer, even in the next 6 months, where the rate might be that or slightly lower. But when you look at the rates during higher demand in the winter months, it's going to be significantly more. So overall, we're on a budget, we're on a fixed rate that allows us a better budgeting tool, and I think it eliminates risk for the county.
Anyone else? No, thank you, Mr. O'Neill, for your work. And this will be on the next voting session. So we're skipping number 3, as I indicated earlier. Mr. Sweats.
While Mr. Sweats is walking to the podium, I want to commend Mr. O'Neill and Mr. Reno from UGI and Mr. O'Neill for their hard work on that UGI contract. For them to specifically identify a problem that has been going on in the county for years, and instead of just paying it being proactive with it. So it's a good opportunity, and I hope council takes it under consideration at the next meeting.
Mr. Sweats, you ready?
Yes. The first quarter report is in the packet. There's 4 slides there. I'm going to go through the 4 slides. Also, in the packet, I think is supplemental information, which slightly after this went out, was the 50 or 60-page detailed quarterly report information. So I'm going to go through the slides. I have some notes on some of the higher variance items and some of the reasons. Any questions that I haven't answered on today, I'll give you today. Anything that I don't have, I'll take back and report before the next meeting. So as council's aware, this first quarter report is due on or before May 15th. We don't have another meeting before May 15th. The first quarter report is looking at just that, the first quarter. So for some of the new council members, everything is not at 25%. Some of the things like New World, we pay the whole year up front. So there's certain line items where we're paying the entire contract up front. If you actually look at the slide 2, as we had discussed in previous meetings, the biggest change in the revenue side is the real estate taxes, and that's due to the delay in the Hazel Township bill. All that is behind us, but as of the first quarter, that was still an issue. Out of the first quarter, it was $3.5 million. As I stated at the last meeting, at the end of discount, it was closer to $6 million. So this is looking at it at the end of the first quarter. There was some additional land development revenue fees. One of the big things that you'll see in my report, and there's a difference between the two because the manager sent out the April report, and this is a report as of the end of the quarter. The pictometry update at the end of the quarter was a little bit less than $35,000. However, there was a big spike in April, and we're probably a little less than, it's either $46,000 or $47,000. So it was a big jump in assessments from pictometry in the month of April.
Excuse me, is this supposed to be projected?
Sure, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't turn it on. I'm speaking like it's on. Thank you.
The light's not on.
Power's on. All right, give me a sec. It was on before.
Hold it, man. Is the bulb burned out? That sometimes happens.
That's.
You were stuck.
I don't think it's on sleep. It was on. Thank you. I didn't even notice it was off because I was reading from the screen.
On now?
I think it's the bulb. That's
There's a light that's shining at least from there.
Yeah, it's very faint.
It looks like it's deteriorating. The light.
Have to warm up.
What's good before? Just the bulb. Yeah.
Technical difficulties, Mr. Sweats.
It was in the zone. I wasn't even looking up. But thank you. So back to slide 2, which we were talking about, and while it warms up, at least you can see something. The pictometry, as I said, at the quarter, there was a big increase in April. Our field assessment team, because of the rainy weather, had been in more. As you saw in the prior updates, we've 1 day a week, the team, or some members of the team, sit down and focus on just the pictometry. But due to the pretty soggy months, we were more focused on pictometry than doing field visits. So that was one of the reasons there was a huge jump in the April month. Again, because we're looking at 1 quarter, overall general fund revenue is on track to meet budgeted amounts. This lag will be caught up during the year.
But Mr. Sweats, though, I just saw on the
Sure.
paper. Yes, thanks. We had the appeals just was just in the news recently, and how does that affect our bottom line? I'm not seeing that here, but I know it was just the past couple days.
Sure. We were a little bit under budget. I think we had said at the budget hearings, and even when the budget was finally passed, that we thought at least for this year we'd be close to that number. In the past, as recent as 3 years ago, it was $750,000. We took it down to $550,000, and there was some appeals that were obviously settled. I still feel comfortable with that number. I don't think we'll need more, but I think we're going to come close to that number. As with other years, the mid-year report is, a much more thorough report. This is a snapshot, so I'll make sure that gets updated in the subsequent month reports and obviously in the mid-year report as well.
Very good, appreciate that.
Slide 3 is on the expenses. As we talked in prior years, overtime at the LCCF, 9% over. Honestly, in other years, and it breaks down between the MOU and the admin, in some prior years it was even a little bit higher than that. We've had some new hires, and I know we've done this for the past year or two, had quite a few new hires in corrections. Also, there's not as many holidays in the first quarter, but it is less than prior years. So even though it is over slightly, we do think it will be less than prior years. And then overall, again, with the expenses, the very last slide on here, and then I'll talk a little bit about some highlights in the detailed report, is just a prior year to date, and you could see, not so well up there, but you could see in your handout the difference in the tax line, which obviously the biggest part of that's our real estate taxes, of $27.6 million for this period last year versus the 24.2, let's call it, it's 24,174. So again, primarily the real estate taxes. When you look down at the bottom line, revenue over expenses, you're looking at about $6.6 million favorable this year, or last year, to a little less than $700,000. So most of our, yes, $6 million is a huge amount, but it's almost all in the tax line, and we will get them. Those bills did go out. It was just delayed.
Yes, I was going to say, was that, Mr. Sweats, according to the delay in Hazel Township? Is that what you're seeing?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Those bills didn't even go out until April. I think it was the first week in April. So in March, there was no money collected.
Very good. Thank you.
On just some high-level notes here, the revenue line items for the indirect cost allocation is one of the big line items. It's about a $600,000 line item. That actually comes in later in the year. So again, we will get that. It's just a timing issue. That comes through the cost allocation plan. The county has a cost allocation plan done for June. The gentleman will actually be on site pretty soon and goes through with the human service agencies and the county to figure out what indirect costs we can charge and bill. And one of the lines, 150, 4310, 44, 4510, other income, there was some money in there, and that was primarily due to the vehicle sale. At the end of the year, there's about 17 vehicles that the county sold. On the expenses, you'll always see that the unemployment percentage is high in the beginning of the year because that's capped at a certain percentage. For this year, it's $10,000. And several lines have encumbrances. The prison always has encumbrances. And road and bridge overtime was at 63%, primarily, as we talked before, due to the winter months and the overtime maintaining the roads. Again, the detailed report, the 52 pages, tells you the same numbers. It's just by the departments, by the divisions, and by some more detail. You'll see a lot of them are at 24, 30%. A lot of the revenue line items are on target. And if you go all the way down to the bottom, so if you go to the last page of that report, it's 52 of 52, but I don't know which one it is in the packet. You'll see that the revenue and expenses, the revenue is at 19% and the expenses are 20. If you've looked at prior years, we're usually around there. The grant money comes in later, the indirect cost money comes in later. So we would not end at 25%. This is very, outside of the Hazel Township issue, this is pretty standard for the first quarter. So anything I can answer now, I will answer. Any other questions, I will gladly write down and get back to you before the next meeting. But as I said, it was required before May 15th. Again, my plan was to give these out at a quarter, but if I'm directed otherwise, I'm okay with that. The summary on the months and the more detailed report on the quarter. Whatever council's purview is, I'm fine with that. Ms. Hawk.
Just a question on the retirement. When do you expect to pay the ARC this year?
Oh, sure, that's a good question. So we talked before about making the ARC payment for the current year. We made the 2 payments last year. We're looking at making quarterly payments. I had hoped to make the first quarter payment last week. We had a meeting. At the time of the last meeting, I hoped to do it. We didn't do it yet, but we are going to do quarterly. So if not this week, by next week, we would make the first quarter, which for the county side is about $2.5 million, give or take, 2.4, 2.5.
You're 2 months into the second quarter already.
Almost a month and a half. You're correct. Yes, but we are looking at getting it in sooner. It's, we paid it always, besides last year, in April or May for the entire prior year.
Right. Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Sure.
Questions? I'm sure Mr. Sweats will be around, and if we have questions, we certainly can email him. And he promised to have them back before the next meeting, correct?
As long as I don't get them 5 minutes before the meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Petrie?
council members, in your packet, you'll find the monthly division reports for April of 2017. But I wanted to take this opportunity to share my experiences from an event that occurred not in April of 2018, pardon me, but last year, yesterday. Yesterday, we had a bomb scare here at the Luzerne County Courthouse. It was a momentous occasion, very, very difficult to move forward with. We had over 200-some people that had to be moved from their offices, including the citizens as well that are here in the courthouse. Where our sheriff, Mr. Sumsky, and his staff did an absolutely phenomenal job, making everybody move efficiently, quickly to a safe location. He coordinated the efforts. I want to specifically thank the Wilkes-Barre City Fire Department, the Wilkes-Barre City Police Department. They were on scene almost immediately. We have an emergency action plan in place. That emergency action plan was followed to the T, and it went along extremely smoothly. In addition, I want to thank the Capital City Police Department and the Pennsylvania State Police Department for sending dogs to clear all of our buildings. When we sent out that call for help, the Pennsylvania State Police choppered in 2 dogs, and the Capitol Police drove from Harrisburg to get up here in order to assist us. I want to thank Pittston City Police Department, who also has a bomb-sniffing dog. They came to assist us at the time as well. The staff did a phenomenal job of coordinating the effort across the board. Some things that we're learning from. Every time I have a building closure, and believe it or not, Thursday will mark my 2-year anniversary in my time as county manager. And in that time, I've had occasion to close a couple buildings due to floods and blizzards and water main breaks and bomb threats and fire bombs. If anybody sees a locust, you gotta let me know, because I'm getting a little nervous. Maybe somebody is telling me something with regard to my time here. But every time we shut down a building, I say we're going to set up a swift 911 text alert system to our county employees through EMA. And then I go back to work the next day, and we move forward, and that gets lost in the past. And hey, when's the next time we're really going to shut down a building? When's that going to happen again? And then if you ask me, it happens about every couple of months. So today, I with Lucy Morgan, we set up a swift 911 text notice alert system for our county employees to know exactly what's going on. For a blizzard, the building is closed, emergency personnel only, essential personnel only, and how that goes about the process from here, as opposed to sending out emails, which is a difficult way of doing business, especially in light of the fact that some people don't have email on their phone and those types of things. So we're continuing to learn from this. The matter has been referred to law enforcement for investigation. The Luzerne County District Attorney's Office, Detective Chaz Ballo, has been assigned to investigate the matter. Obviously, the county lost a day of work, and it was a difficult day. With that being said, the coordination of effort by our Sheriff's Department was truly phenomenal. And to see that at work was something to see. So I want to commend our county employees for what they did for their swift evacuation of the area. I want to commend our Sheriff's Department. I want to say thank you to the municipalities that assisted us. Whenever we called for help, they came. And that's not something that we will forget about.
I didn't understand something, Dave. Did the call come from Lackawanna County?
Correct.
And not here? We didn't receive the call. Lackawanna County called us?
Correct. So the call came in through Lackawanna County 911 that there are potential bomb threat at Luzerne County Courthouse. And obviously, we take everything pretty seriously around here and we have to follow our protocol through. And I want to thank Lackawanna County 911. I missed them on the first time around for their assistance as well.
Yeah, Mr. Manager, if I could, Mr. Chair, too. I'd like my number to be on the 911 as well. I don't know if the colleagues would like that, too, because I appreciate you taking time out to keep the council informed, because I didn't find it out until later in the day, but I saw what time you sent the emails out. So in the midst of everything, you took the time to keep us apprised of the situation.
Well,
I appreciate you, Mr. Manager, too, but I'd be willing to have my number on that, too. Might save you an extra step.
Well, I appreciate that. It was It was a difficult day, but obviously, listen, I was there to support, to help coordinate, to make the calls, to make the final decisions, but it really came through from our security side of things.
Thank you. Mr. Chair.
And you also got an email from your clerk. In that
Be
regard.
remiss, but I thank her every day. She does a great job.
Well, not only that, she left. She had to get out of here, right? There's no choice.
Yeah.
But then we had our meeting at 5:30, the ABC, so she came in at 4, with permission of the county manager, got all the packets ready so we could have the meeting. She does a fantastic job.
Are we going to skip the division reports?
Yeah, if there's anything else, I'd be happy to answer any questions on the division reports.
One other item from the report.
Ms. Houck, and then
All our buildings notified.
The buildings were notified.
The courts and like Penn Place, were they all
No,
notified?
Penn Place was not a. We determined after reviewing the threat that Penn Place was not a threatened building. So the courthouse was, and then based upon our abundance of caution, we decided to evacuate the annex and the Brominsky building, which for the close proximity to the courthouse.
Ms. Houck?
Yeah, my only question is, in the division reports you mentioned, actually, a landscaping project that's going on with Hanover Nursery. And when I was driving in, I happened to notice the Hanover Nursery trucks there. It's looking nice. I did not know we contracted with Hanover Nursery. Is that in the budget somewhere? Is that a line item somewhere in the budget?
Operations budget.
I thought it would be building and grounds, right? But in this report, like, is it like at a deeper level then?
Mr. Sweats?
I know it's in operations. I don't know if it's in Road and Bridge or Building and Grounds. I can find out.
I was just
Yeah,
wondering.
it is in the
Yeah.
report, though. It is
Yeah.
one of those numbers.
It's in here. Okay.
And we requested numerous bids from numerous landscapers in order to complete it. Hanover Nursery came forward with the best offer for what they're offering. And it's going to be beautiful. And once this is opened and we finally have the flowers blooming, because it finally feels like it got through January and then opening in May, I hopefully will be doing some press and those types of things to try to get people to do things like take prom pictures here and to have weddings again in our rotunda. We got to utilize this building as much as we possibly can, and the $2 million renovation to the rotunda project, supported by this council, I want to make sure that people know that that's there as an option for things like weddings or special events. And I love to see the prom people take pictures in our beautiful grounds out here.
Thank you, Mr. Pedri. Getting down to number 6, do we have somebody from Hazleton Public Transit?
This would be my fault. I have been in contact with Mr. Sharp regarding this. I told him that he can come on April 10th or April 24th.
April?
No. So I told him April 10th or April 24th or May 8th or May 22nd. I didn't confirm with them last week that it was this
So it'll be on
Tuesday.
for May 22nd.
May 22nd and June 12th.
Okay,
But I will confirm that with them.
very good. Number 7. I think this was a discussion that was brought up by Mr. Urban last meeting. Mr. Urban?
Yes, I'm here.
Regarding the county-owned building on Pennsylvania Avenue?
Yeah, I think, Ms. McGinley and members of council, I think that we just need to take a vote up or down on whether we want to sell the parking lot next to the Human Services building to City of Wilkes-Barre so they can put the road through. County council is the owner of record of the property, and we're the ones that can dispose of it. And I think that vote needs to be taken, given the fact that there's legal action ongoing against the county.
Okay, did you look at the resolution, Mr. Urban? Have you had the opportunity? You okay with that?
I'm okay with it.
Very good. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have one specific question, Mr. Chair. Page
Yes.
59 of 77 under the engineering.
59?
Line. 59, that's correct.
So that's the division reports?
It's, yeah, still division. Is that all right? Did we move
Well,
on
we passed the
already?
division reports,
I've been
but
reading
certainly
them.
it's all right.
Thanks for bearing with me, and I am. Chase Road, County Road 13. I just know if it said PennDOT requested additional design justification for Penn Eastern. Do we know exactly what that was, or is that
Yeah,
extremely
this is
technical?
Well, let me back up, and I'm going to try to hold my frustration here. Because this is a project that we've been working on for 3 years with PennDOT, and obviously we completed our side of things, and then we continually provide with PennDOT with information. They recently sent it back to us that they needed some additional information, that the S&E report. Am I correct on that? Yeah, I think it was the S&E report.
PSNE, that's right.
PSNE report, and then we submitted that. So we are now, they are waiting on approval from the Conservation District. Okay. That is set to go for, I believe, in the end of May. I've been in contact with the Conservation District to make sure that that's on their agenda, to make sure that this moves forward. This road is absolutely a priority for us. This is the #1 road we get the #1 amount of phone calls on. It needs, it definitely, it needs assistance. I really hope PennDOT comes through for us and gets this thing done by the end.
So is that the last hoop then, Dave? It's just the Conservation District, and that's our local Luzerne County Conservation District.
Correct.
Going through.
According to PennDOT, we've completed all of our steps.
Yeah.
And we completed the steps before, but now we're redoing them because of the timeline how long this has been going on.
Okay.
So now we have now completed all our steps once this Conservation District is done, according to them. Now.
So I think Matt sits on that, right, Mr. Chairman? Matt Vogt sits on the Conservation District?
Yes, he does.
So I'm sure, I mean, Gene's been in there, a couple of us have served on that. It's a great organization. I'm sure it's all taken care of
He'll make sure it's done
on the agenda. But I want to say, Sheila and I are going to meet with our reps these next couple of weeks, so I thought if this is a political thing, if we need to apply political pressure, perhaps our representatives can go to bat for us.
I don't think it's political pressure. And I would say that Karen Bobeck and Lisa Baker have reached out. This is in their district as well.
Yes.
And I've asked them for their help. I think PennDOT's making sure to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. They've changed a couple engineers throughout the project from the time it first began 3 years ago to the time we're at here.
Okay.
But I want to be clear to you and to the members of the public watching, this is absolutely a priority for us. I was at the MPO meeting, and when I didn't see this on the LET project for April, I was extremely upset, and I said, what can I do to make sure it's on there? Yeah. And George Roberts specifically took the time to send some very specific emails to the following steps. Our engineer has followed through every step along the way, and now we're at the Conservation District step.
Wonderful.
And then I'm hoping, but like obviously, it's summertime, and we need to make sure things gets through here.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question last week about it, so this helps me be able to respond to that.
We're
so
trying.
Thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate all the work that you and the staff are doing. Thank you.
Could I just jump in? I know I'm just going to, since Harry brought it up.
Yeah.
On page 60.
Next time we won't let him bring it up.
No, that's right. on page 60 and 61, you know, it would be really helpful if when we see in the report the county bridge number, if we knew where these county bridges were. You know, now sometimes we do know, because every once in a while I see like there's one in Union Township, and I see one in Rice, but then we have other bridges and I don't know where they're located. So
yeah, that's a good point. We could make those changes.
That would be very helpful.
Eddie, we can make those changes for next meeting.
And we owe it all to Harry for bringing them. Thank you, Harry.
Okay.
Our Penn Place roof replacement that council has approved is begun May 15th.
We have pre-construction meeting Thursday.
And then I think that's every roof in the county at this point, and almost every other building.
Going back to number 7, Mr. Urban made his commentary. Any problems with that beyond the voting session for the next meeting? Going over to the next page, and Ms. Hauck asked us a few items here with regards to the blighted property. We introduced the ordinance this evening to amend the ordinance from 2016. Once that goes through the process, we will again have a agreement between Luzerne County and the Redevelopment Authority. The ordinance gets passed, the agreement gets approved, then we have to do a budget amendment for the 2018 budget, I believe, right? That would allow that to happen, and then in that budget amendment, that's where we would bring the money in from the Redevelopment Authority and then allocate it for the expenses.
Yeah,
That's the plan.
When the next Redevelopment Authority meeting is offhand?
It's on the website.
Okay.
It's usually on a Tuesday, I believe, and it's probably next Tuesday or following Tuesday. Yeah.
22nd.
22nd.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
So it's 2 weeks tonight.
I'm just trying to see our timeline, thinking so probably we'll be up for a vote before the council. Okay. So
15th, next Tuesday. Okay.
potentially first meeting in June, maybe second meeting in June.
Well, we should get
for,
the
for a council
amendment
vote.
for the ordinance will be next meeting, and then we'll get to work on the agreement. Hopefully we'll have the agreement the first meeting in June, if that's possible. And then it'll have to be approved by us and by redevelopment authority. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
What's the difference, if I
Excuse
could
me?
ask? What's the difference between the ordinance that's on page 74 of 77 and the one that was in the voting session that we introduced? It's the same ordinance?
Yeah, we just kept it
Okay.
together in case for some reason it didn't go through
Okay.
at the
All right.
voting session and need to be talked
Just
about.
making sure there was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the
Thank
bottom
you.
line is there's no difference at this point.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay, public comment. Mr. Shiner? Okay. Let's see who else we have here. Mr. Ola?
Quick question. Does the county have business interruption insurance?
If you would come to the microphone, please. Yes, it is back. Mr. O'Neill was kind enough to bring it in.
Make sure you punch in for overtime. Does the county have business interruption insurance, and if so, what's the deductible?
Is that your only question?
You want me to ask more?
No, I want you to have your commentary, and then we'll get some answers.
Well, we never get answers anyway. So I'm just asking if we can get it for the next session, if we ever have an old business again in my lifetime.
Anyone else? Public comment. Have a motion for adjournment?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Haas, second?
Second.
Mr. Keller, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
They're all under bed.